Welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay, at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at tonight's 8-game slate here, and we just did the pitcher nail down, and it's a bad pitching night. And it's kind of good, though, because there's a lot of top-price bats that you can get into your lineup, so you don't have to really steep down below really 3,500 on this site or any other tonight. I mean, it just seems relatively easy to kind of go about and put some stocks in your lineup.
Yeah, it's like I described before. Instead of sort of window shopping through all the top options tonight, I actually get to pick some out and bring some home into my lineup. So I'm kind of excited. Like you just white out the pitchers that you're starting and look at the beautiful lineups you can put together.
Yeah, I mean, cash game wise, I mean, you lock in any sort of pitchers, you're still going to be sitting over 4,000 for salary there. So jumping right into catcher, and I think Wellington Castillo is my top option at 3,600. Gets a lefty. Yes, it's in PNC, but you look at Locke, not a good arm, 333 WOBA, allowed to right-hander since 2014. Been far worse this year. I just think the way Castillo has hit southpaws, he's just a clear lock, and especially at that price tag, it's not bad.
Yeah, I like that call. He's definitely in play, and he's been doing pretty well. I like McCann. He sat out yesterday, but I do think he's back in the lineup tonight, so I think he's an intriguing option again. And then, I mean, Wieters at 32. He's been mashing the ball lately. I don't think you need to go below him, really.
No, he's about as cheap as I'll look tonight. I mean, we were kind of talking before the show. I mean, that Baltimore-Houston game, big names, but in comparison to kind of some of the other spots that guys are in, that game's just sort of GPP territory. But I think Wieters is the only one. If maybe I need that extra 400 somewhere, I don't mind spinning down to him.
Right.
But, yeah, McCann, great GPP play for me tonight. Estrada's been, good against lefties, but home runs wise, I mean, 1.41 home runs per 9. To lefty since 2014. I mean, I think it could be kind of one of those boomer bust nights, or maybe one of those nights where maybe you hit an occasional solo shot here for a guy like McCann or Teixeira or someone like that. I'm not expecting too much out of the Yankees offense, but I think McCann's a great pivot.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, again, catcher's catcher, so there's going to be one or two guys that hit, and I think those guys have the highest range outcomes.
Yeah, definitely. First base, I mean, it's easily David Ortiz for me against Chad Bettis. He's expensive, but we talked. I mean, the price tag's nothing. I mean, I just feel like I'm just going to be spending that cash tonight because I'm not paying enough for pitching. So lock in Ortiz.
Yeah, lock him in. Who cares? Splurge a little tonight. Don't check your balance till the morning. And I'm making a reference to going to the bar, not your actual DK balance, but just throw them in there. Goldschmidt's an interesting pivot off of that, but I mean, you can't really get in a better spot than Ortiz tonight. And I think if you throw a Red Sox stack in there, you're pretty much raising your floor super high, because one, two, or at least three of those guys are going off tonight in that lineup. So. I think Ortiz obviously has the highest probability.
Yeah, and then, you mentioned Goldschmidt is a nice pivot play, and I do like that. It's starting to come around a little bit. Mashes left-handers, and you look at Locke, hasn't been good. I mean, the only thing that kind of separates, I mean, if this game was in Chase Field, I'd equal that Arizona offense to Boston tonight, but it's in PNC, so it's a little bit different.
Right.
But overall, I mean, the solid options up top, and you can definitely pay for them. And if you're looking lower, Steve Pearce is a guy who I think I'm going to talk about more so at second base. I'll get into him just because I'm not going to use him here first. John Jaso in a decent spot here, but I think he's more fitting for just kind of a pirate stack, if anything.
Right. I think you're going to be super contrarian if you don't pay up at first tonight, and I don't necessarily see that as having much upside considering the spots these guys are in. So especially in cash, I think it's just much safer to pay up here.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you there. And anyone else you're looking at is maybe a contrarian pivot in that 4K range.
We always like Toronto a little bit. So Encarnacion in play, but not he's definitely a tier or two down from the Ortiz Goldschmidt grouping.
Yeah, I mean, decent spot against Nova. I mean, it hasn't been a great arm by any means, and I think the Blue Jays are sort of a contrarian move because they are expensive with those other big names.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at second base, and it's pretty loaded tonight. And I mean, Jose Altuve up top, Cano. I mean, both over 5K. You were like, you know what? I'm going Altuve, and I'm trying to fit him in with. You were naming like players left and right. How high is the Altuve love for you tonight?
It's not necessarily the Altuve love. It's that it's someone that's 5,400, and I can just still fit him in. And I can fit him in with other guys that are above 5K, and I can just run on my jolly way through this lineup with no resistance, basically. But I mean, obviously he's not in a perfect spot, and he's been struggling and sort of regressing of late. And I do like Cano a little more, but those two on Pedroia, I just don't see any reason to go lower, other than your boy Pierce.
Yeah, and Pierce is where I'm looking. I mean, Pierce second base eligibility is just a steal because one, you can pay up for Ortiz. It's a tough pivot off of Pedroia because I do like the Red Sox stack tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the way Pierce is hitting against lefties, I mean, he's back doing the same thing. 566 WOBA off lefties this season, 379 ISO, hitting cleanup against Nicolino there, an average lefty. I think this is just kind of a perfect spot for him at that price tag. I'm just going to jump all over it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So, and I if he was first base eligible, I'd probably tone it down a notch. But because I can play him at second base, it's just
yeah.
I'm excited. I woke up this morning. I made some eggs. I was like, I'm playing Steve Pierce at second base
today. Please tell me you were like flipping fried eggs.
No, I made scrambled. Sorry.
I
did add a little green onion and cheddar in there, so I did doctor it up a bit.
It'd be a better visual if you were just flipping eggs thinking about Steve Pierce. Anyway.
One note here, Gene Segura left last night's game, went to the hospital, possible concussion. I doubt we see him in the lineup. If he is, I think he's kind of a contrarian move, but I don't think we will.
Which is kind of a bummer because I've liked playing him quite a bit this year, and he's paid off his price a lot. So 4,200, pretty reasonable deal for him and a good matchup. But yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to play.
Yeah, third base here. You got a lot of top options up there, and they priced him up pretty heavily. Evan Longoria, I mean, 5K is a little steep for a guy who's obviously trending downwards in his career, but still mashing lefties and hitting pretty well of late. I don't mind paying up for him, but I think this might be a spot where I do kind of save some cash because there are some cheaper options that I don't mind.
That's fair. I look at a Kyle Seager. I think the Seattle lineup is going to be – they almost feel a little overpriced. I think they could be an interesting sort of tournament swerve. If you put Seager, Cano in a lineup, I think that's an interesting way to go because it is definitely overpriced, but it's pretty intriguing to me. Obviously, you like Machado, but yeah, I think there are some cheaper options here.
Yeah, I mean, 4,300 for Arenado.
Yeah,
I think it is worth the tournament look. I'm not necessarily sold on picking on Wright, but these Colorado bats are fairly cheap. I mean, in comparison to what they usually are, and I think you can look at them, and I think you can look at it as a possible stack here because Fenway, yes, it's not Coors, but it's still a great hitting environment. And 1 through 5, I mean, they're a fairly cheap stack. I think it's certainly worth the look in tournaments.
Definitely.
But yeah, some of those cheaper guys. Brandon Drury's a guy, 3,200, going to get the lefty-righty matchup with Locke. Been hitting well of late. He's a guy who I like a ton if I'm paying down there. And Taylor Motter, 3,300, getting the lefty again. 3,300, certainly playable. I think those are kind of great spin down options if you're not quite intrigued with those top priced third basemen.
We are watching the evolution of Taylor Motter. Unfortunately, that means him doing well and then getting bumped up enormously in one slate. So that's a bummer. It was fun while you were 2,200 there, pal.
Darn, come on, 3,300 is not a bad price tag.
But it's not like, oh, I get to fit another 4K guy in there because I can fit Mater in here. You know what I mean? Like that was glorious.
Yeah, it was nice. But you know what? That's
Yeah.
life. That's life. All right. Travis Shaw, 3,700, certainly unplayable. Another Sox guy.
I know we like Iwakuma tonight, but I feel like Danny Valencia at his price is kind of always chilling in play. So
Yeah, just because how hot he's been.
Yeah, so I'll probably throw him in there.
Shortstop here, and I think Xander Bogaerts is still your top option. 4,700. I mean, the guy's hitting over 400 of late and continues to just consistently produce. And I think cash game wise, I think I can't rank him on Rigsus because I like them all so much, but he has been one of the consistent arms or bats outside of Ortiz.
It's just incredible. I mean, like literally 1 through 7, sometimes 8 in this lineup. It's just so consistent. So, I mean, yeah, him, Ortiz, Pedroia, just you can make those lineups happen tonight. So I would try to do that in as many lineups as you can.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, guys like Machado at shortstop and Correa are kind of interesting GPP swears. And even Trevor Story, I mean, to kind of talk about the rest of the Colorado bats, I mean, if Wright's off his game, which a knuckleballer can, I mean, this team can really hit, and I think there is some stolen base upside as well, and with Blackman and Story. So GPP-wise, I'm not going to be afraid.
Right. I mean, I think this could be a really high-scoring night for both teams. So I'm not necessarily fading Colorado either. I just think Boston's such a lock for production that you kind of look for that when you can.
Yeah, and I think the way Wright's pitched this season, I mean, he's limited damage. So you're looking, maybe they do kind of can knock him, around a little bit, maybe get to the bullpen or something. So I think that's kind of what you're looking for. But GPP wise, I still think at those prices are playable because it would be kind of an ultimate swerve there.
Right. One more guy, Brad Miller, 2,800. Not bad.
What was that?
Never mind. Just move on.
Okay. Oh, so you cut out a little bit.
Anyway.
Looking at outfield here, and I mean, you got your top price guys, and Gregory Polanco, 4,500 is kind of an interesting spin down of guys like Betts and Bautista. You're getting 1,000 cheaper. Ruben De Los has pitched better against lefties this season, but I mean, if you look at his career numbers, he might have figured it out, but I'm still going to roll Polanco out there with how hot he's been. 373 WOBA allowed to lefties, 1.40 home runs per 9. Polanco coming off a monster game. 4,500 is just a nice price tag.
Yeah, no, he's been awesome. And obviously a lefty in that Pirates lineup. So yeah, he's definitely a good option. I mean, I think the Pirates are in play as a tournament stack tonight, sort of with McCutchen and maybe a Marte as well. I think that's intriguing. Go down the list here. I mean, we were joking about Stanton because I really ran into a rough stretch with him. I kind of hit him on the head when he started striking out every game, and I was playing him as a high-priced guy. But I mean, he is in play again, and he's at a much reduced price now. So I think you can throw him in there and not get hurt too badly.
Yeah, definitely kind of that GPP. I mean, we know his upside. I mean, it's there, and that home run pop. I mean, he showed it in the early day yesterday when there was no slate. So no one got that, but I think he's a solid option. I mean, obviously Jackie Bradley Jr. at 4,400. You can look for him to continue to produce. I mean, he's been lights out. I mean, just with the rest of them. So 4,400, it's not bad. I would expect him to be actually much higher.
Right, definitely. So, I mean, Red Sox tonight can fit 5 of them in. Might be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean that 4,000 range of suits like Geyer, Saunders. I definitely kind of like that range. I mean, you're looking at. I think the Tampa offense is going to be huge tonight, and I think those right-handers have some big-time power. Saunders, I mean, tough night for the Blue Jays, but I'm looking for them to bounce back against Nova.
Yeah, no, Saunders is a good call. I think he's a nice, cheaper way to get exposure to them, and you don't necessarily have to stack him. So that's a good call there. Obviously, no Reds lefties tonight, so Jay Bruce out. What do we do with Adam Jones here? He he had a good stretch there before, which was preceded by a really bad stretch, and now it seems like he's kind of going back into his cave there.
Yeah, I think there's just one. I don't necessarily think you need to sit that low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm off of them.
Yeah,
600. I mean, it's a decent price tag, but the matchup I'm not too favorable with, so I'm kind of sticking down. But there's a guy here at 3,200, Matuk here for the Rays, getting lefty-righty matchup, hitting top of the order. Last game against the lefty, he would be kind of an interesting cheap option, but there's no reason to go anything really below 3,500 for the meantime tonight.
No, and then I mean Drury is outfield eligible at 3,200, but how much upside does he have for an outfielder? I guess is the question you have to ask yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what that Arizona lineup looks like. If Drury's hitting up top, I mean, I'll plug him in. I don't mind him as kind of a salary relief guy. I think he'll be in a decent spot. But if he's hitting kind of in that sixth, seventh role, maybe not so much.
And one last guy here for me, Ichiro. He's been killing it. Even against some tough matchups, 2,500 tonight. Something to look at if he's in the lineup or nah? Nah? Nah. Okay.
I don't think I need to go down to 2,500.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, maybe if you're an Ichiro fan and you're just like, you know what, I'm making an Ichiro lineup, and you got to do it.
Ichiro lineup. Wow.
It does open up some cash though.
Would that be like a special setting that you can hit and it just puts Ichiro at every single position?
Yeah, and then he chips away with, his 2 singles, and that's about it.
All right, fine.
That's going to wrap things up here with the DK Daily Trot. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.